not gonna bore you with a typical intro for an already long video. If you're watching a 25 games list video, you already know what you want. So here it is. I have to start here because if you haven't played Red Dead 2, I genuinely envy the fact that you get to experience it for the first time. It came out back in 2018 and it still embarrasses modern open world titles. You're playing as Arthur Morgan, an outlaw trapped in 1899 as the American frontier closes up and the only family he's ever known, the Vanderlyn gang, starts fracturing from the inside. But the real magic isn't just the narrative structure, it's the sheer weight of the simulation. Rockstar didn't just build an open world, they built an ecosystem. Your horse builds a bonding gauge that dictates its handling and panic thresholds, and if it catches a stray bullet in a firefight without a reviver, it is gone permanently. You have to clean your firearms or watch their stats degrade, and hunt with specific weapon calibers to preserve pelt quality. It's a ridiculous, obsessive level of detail that makes the entire world feel staggeringly alive.
The Vanderlyn gang, a band of outlaws and outcasts on the run from the pressures.
Yeah, we all remember the launch disaster. It's been over half a decade, so let it go. Cyberpunk 2077 in its current state, fully patched with the Phantom Liberty expansion, is easily one of the premier first-person RPGs on the platform. You play as V, a mercenary with a ticking clock in their skull, slowly being overwritten by the digital psyche of a dead anarchist rock star. The real star of the show here is Night City itself. Most open worlds suffer from horizontal bloat, but CD Projekt Red built vertical density. Walking out of the corporate, neon-drenched high-rises of City Center and into the decaying, lawless concrete ruins of Pacifica genuinely feels like switching between two completely different games. With the 2.0 overhaul, the perk trees actually alter how you play now. If you go full Netrunner, you're sitting in a security camera feed, uploading cyberware malfunctions and forcing enemy cyberpsychos to turn their own weapons on themselves. Throw in Phantom Liberty, which turns the game into a high-stakes spy thriller, and Night City becomes a spectacular place to lose yourself.
Every person with a gaming channel has told you to play The Witcher 3, and I'm telling you again anyway because it set a standard for narrative design that the industry is still struggling to replicate. Before this game, side quests in RPGs were universally understood to be filler. CDPR changed the entire paradigm by treating every single side contract like a short story with messy, shifting motivations. A simple monster hunt in a backwater village almost always spirals into a tragic domestic dispute or a moral gray area where there is no good choice. You'll remember the Bloody Baron's family drama far longer than you'll remember the final boss fight. And we can't talk about The Witcher 3 without mentioning Gwent. It is a massive problem when an in-game card game is so addictive that you find yourself ignoring a world-ending prophecy just so you can bully an arms dealer for a rare card. Add the expansions, which give you an entirely new, vibrant region that feels like a standalone game, and you have an absolute masterpiece.
How about I buy everybody around? Bottoms up!
Ghost of Tsushima is arguably one of the most visually arresting games ever put on a PC monitor. The developers at Sucker Punch focused entirely on deliberate art direction to make the game feel like a living Akira Kurosawa film. You play as Jin Sakai, a samurai defended by a rigid code of honor, who has to adopt underhanded guerrilla tactics if he wants to save his people from a brutal Mongol invasion. The combat is incredibly crisp, utilizing a dynamic stance system where you're constantly analyzing the enemy layout and switching mid-combo. You drop into stone stance for swordsmen, water stance to break shield guards, wind stance to counter spearmen, and moon stance to deal with massive brutes. When you get into a flow state, deflecting arrows, parrying katanas, and switching stances in a fraction of a second, it feels unparalleled. The Director's Cut on PC gives you the Iki Island expansion, adding a brilliant layer of psychological depth to an already stellar package. Let's clear up the biggest misconception about Elden Ring right out of the gate. It is only as difficult as you choose to make it. When From Software transitioned their formula into a massive open world, they solved the biggest issue plaguing the Souls genre: getting permanently stuck. If Margit the Fell Omen is kicking your teeth in, you just turn around, ride your spectral steed south, explore a hidden peninsula, and come back over-leveled and ready for revenge. The lore, co-authored by George R.R. Martin, isn't spoon-fed to you through boring exposition dumps. It's embedded in the architecture, dropped in vague dialogue lines, and written into item descriptions. The boss encounters here are absolute spectacles. Fights against Radahn or Melania are cinematic events that require you to learn the rhythm of their movesets like a dance.
I walked into Baldur's Gate 3 expecting a standard, well-made isometric RPG and walked out 3 months later after 2 consecutive playthroughs completely stunned by its complexity. Built entirely on the mechanical foundation of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, Larian Studios achieved a level of choice and reactivity that feels almost impossible. The game starts with an alien parasite shoved into your character's eye socket, and from there, the training wheels are completely off. What makes this game a historical achievement is how it handles player agency. If you think of a creative solution to a problem, the game almost always accounts for it. You can use a speech check to convince guards a boss is a traitor, sneak into the rafters to drop a massive stone spider on his head, or just coat the entire room in grease and explode it with a firebolt. The companion characters are written with an incredible amount of nuance, acting as deeply flawed individuals who will actively challenge your choices or change their entire moral alignment based on how you treat them.
How would you feel about helping me kill some evil bastards?
I want to be transparent. I expected an average, corporate-mandated cash-in with a Harry Potter skin. What we actually got was a deeply passionate, mechanically sound wizarding simulator that stands entirely on its own merits. By setting the narrative in the late 1800s, the developers freed themselves from the baggage of the main books to tell a story about an ancient magic conspiracy. The layout of Hogwarts Castle itself is a massive technical triumph, acting as a giant, sprawling architectural puzzle. Walking through the moving staircases and discovering hidden rooms behind tapestries feels incredibly nostalgic, without relying solely on cheap member berries. The combat is surprisingly kinetic, playing more like an internal rhythm game where you pair offensive spells like Confringo and Defindo to shatter enemy shields while using Levioso to extend your juggle combos. It's fast, flashy, and highly satisfying once you unlock the high-tier talent trees. If your only memory of Kratos is an angry, low-poly man ripping the heads off Greek gods, you need to wipe the slate clean. The 2018 soft reboot of God of War is a masterclass in narrative maturity. Kratos is older now, hiding out in the realm of Norse mythology, trying to grieve his dead wife while raising his estranged son, Atreus. The entire game is presented as a single, unbroken camera shot with no visible loading screens, giving a massive mythic story an intense sense of intimacy. The combat is completely anchored by the Leviathan axe, and the mechanical feel of throwing that weapon and recalling it back to Kratos' palm with a heavy thud never gets old. And thankfully, Atreus breaks the curse of the annoying video game child companion. He functions beautifully as a tactical tool in combat, and his changing dynamic with Kratos serves as the emotional engine of the entire experience.
We are more than that. The responsibility.
Horizon Forbidden West takes the foundation of Zero Dawn and scales it up horizontally and vertically, delivering one of the most mechanically rewarding hunting loops in the open-world genre. You're playing as Aloy, exploring a post-apocalyptic Earth where organic wildlife has been completely superseded by colossal, animalistic machines. The combat here is what keeps the game from feeling like standard open-world checklist filler. You cannot just button mash your way through an encounter. Every single machine is a highly detailed, destructible puzzle. You have to use focus scans to identify weak points, target specific canisters with corresponding elemental arrows to trigger chain reactions, and physically tear off weapons from their hulls to use against them. The PC port is an absolute technical marvel, showcasing gorgeous environments that span from the sun-bleached ruins of San Francisco to dense, overgrown jungles.
Gotta keep moving. Bring us around! Take it tough!
Metro Exodus is a masterclass in atmospheric tension, and it is criminal how often it gets left out of the conversation regarding elite first-person shooters. While the first 2 games were linear, claustrophobic corridor shooters, Exodus blows the walls out by putting you on a heavily modified steam train traveling across Russia over the course of a full calendar year. The game is split into massive, semi-open sandboxes that change dynamically with the seasons. You play as Artyom, and the survival mechanics here are deeply tactile. There are no clean UI menus. If you want to check your map, Artyom physically pulls out a paper map and a compass in real time while you're hiding in the brush. If a mutant strikes you, your gas mask visor cracks, and you have to physically tap a button to wipe blood and mud off your view. The weapons feel appropriately cobbled together, and the relationship you build with your squad mates on the train across the campaign gives the ending an incredibly emotional punch.
Control is what happens when you give an incredibly talented studio like Remedy Entertainment a AAA budget and tell them to make a game based entirely on internet creepypastas and new weird cinema. You play as Jessie Faden, an ordinary woman who walks into a brutalist concrete building in Manhattan called the Oldest House, the shifting, paranormally unstable headquarters of the Federal Bureau of Control. Within 10 minutes, she inherits a supernatural firearm and becomes the director, tasked with fighting off a reality-warping corruption known as the Hiss. The Oldest House is an architectural shifting mass where an office hallway will suddenly stretch into infinity or a break room will open up into an upside-down pyramid dimension. The combat is a beautiful dance of kinetic energy that truly shines when you unlock Jessie's telekinetic abilities. You aren't just firing projectiles, you are ripping chunks of concrete directly out of the walls and launching them at enemy shields while levitating across office floors. This is Remedy Entertainment's absolute magnum opus. Alan Wake 2 splits its psychological survival horror narrative right down the middle between FBI agent Saga Anderson, investigating ritualistic cult murders, and Alan Wake himself, a writer trapped in a surreal nightmare dimension called the Dark Place. Saga sections play like a gritty, supernatural detective procedural where you can jump into a physical mind palace at any time to pin clues, connect red yarn between photos, and deduce profiles. Alan's sections, on the other hand, are some of the most structurally ambitious pieces of game design ever attempted, allowing you to use a plot board to rewrite the literal geometry of the rooms you're standing in. Remedy blends live-action FMV footage with live gameplay so seamlessly that it genuinely messes with your head, featuring a specific musical sequence that is one of the most brilliant, jaw-dropping things put in a video game this decade. The 2023 Dead Space remake is the gold standard for how to update a classic. EA Motive completely re-engineered the 2008 original into a seamless, terrifying, interconnected nightmare aboard the USG Ishimura. The core mechanic that separates Dead Space from every other survival horror game is strategic dismemberment. Aiming for the head or center mass is a waste of bullets. The game forces you to panic aim under pressure to slice off limbs and razor-sharp blades using modified industrial mining tools. The iconic plasma cutter is still one of the best weapons in gaming history, letting you toggle your firing axis between horizontal and vertical lines with a click of a button. The biggest upgrade in the remake is that the entire ship is now fully rendered and continuous, allowing you to literally fly from the flight deck to engineering in zero-G. It turns the ship into a character of its own, heavy with industrial dread and mechanical rust. Forget the 2006 game and forget the movies. Arcane Studios' 2017 Prey is one of the absolute greatest immersive sims ever created. You wake up as Morgan Yu aboard Talos 1, a luxury space station that has been completely overrun by the Typhon, a shadow-like alien ecology where the lowest tier, mimics, can instantly take the form of any physics object in the environment. That coffee cup or chair on the desk? A mimic. What makes Prey special is its sheer mechanical freedom, building environments with an absurd amount of systemic overlap. If a door is locked, you can hack the terminal, crawl through a maintenance shaft, or use the glue cannon to construct a makeshift staircase up to a broken window. You can even inject alien DNA into your character to unlock powers, like turning yourself into a coffee cup to slip through a tiny gap in a security window. Kena is a debut game from a small studio called Ember Lab, and it has no business being this polished for a first attempt. You play as a spirit guide helping lost souls find peace in a village that's been slowly swallowed by corruption. The tone sits somewhere between a Studio Ghibli film and a Zelda game, which sounds like a pitch meeting, but actually works. The rot are the best thing in it. Small black creatures you collect throughout the world that follow Kena around, assist in combat, and interact with the environment in ways that solve puzzles. They're genuinely endearing in a way that snuck up on me. The combat borrows instincts from Souls-like games, dodging, parrying, managing a limited resource pool, and the boss fights are harder than the visuals suggest. It's not a long game, maybe 8 to 10 hours, and it doesn't try to be more than it is. A focused, beautiful, well-made adventure that handles its story about grief and letting go with real care. Sometimes that's exactly enough. Hellblade is a short, hyper-focused experience, clocking in at around 6 to 8 hours, but it is easily one of the most raw and intense journeys in the medium.
You play as Senua, a Celtic warrior traveling into the Norse underworld to bargain for the soul of her murdered lover. The core hook here is that Senua suffers from severe psychosis, developed in close collaboration with neuroscientists to create a staggering level of realism. The game is built entirely around binaural audio, meaning the voices in Senua's head are constantly whispering, mocking, and arguing with each other directly into your ears. During combat, they'll yell out warnings when an enemy is attacking from behind, creating an unmatched layer of psychological empathy. The real challenge lies in the environmental puzzles, where you have to look at the world through Senua's fractured perception to find hidden runes in the shadows.
I will fulfill my vow.
BioShock Infinite is a monumental piece of narrative action design. You play as Booker DeWitt, sent to the floating city of Columbia to retrieve a girl named Elizabeth to wipe away his gambling debts. Columbia is a breathtaking, terrifying setting, a sun-drenched city in the clouds built on a foundation of extreme religious fanaticism. The relationship between Booker and Elizabeth is the true anchor of the entire experience. Elizabeth isn't a passive escort mission target, she is an active mechanical partner who scavenges ammo and opens up dimensional tears in the environment to bring in cover or automated turrets mid-fight. The combat is vertical and frantic, forcing you to use a skyhook to latch onto high-speed roller coaster rails that loop between floating buildings while casting elemental vigor powers. It all culminates in a narrative ending that still stands as one of the biggest mind bends in gaming history. If you think you hate roguelites because you don't like losing your progress, Hades is the game that will completely change your mind. Supergiant Games pulled off a minor miracle by taking a genre notorious for repetitive loops and making it a compelling, narrative-driven experience. You are Zagreus, the rebellious prince of the underworld, trying to fight your way out of your father's domain. The genius of the game is that progression happens through failure. Every death unlocks new dialogue lines, advances your relationships with mythological figures, and lets you spend permanent currency to upgrade your base stats. The isometric combat is blisteringly fast and mechanically flawless. You have 6 distinct weapons, and during each run, the Olympian gods offer you boons that fundamentally alter your build, creating an addictive loop that will easily melt 50 hours of your life. I cannot give you granular details about the mechanics because knowledge is the only progression system in this game. You play as a rookie astronaut launching a fragile wooden spaceship into a miniature solar system with exactly 22 minutes to explore before the local sun goes supernova and resets you right back at the campfire. There are no XP bars, weapon upgrades, or map markers. The only thing guiding you is your own organic curiosity. Every single planet in the system is a complex physical clockwork puzzle changing in real time, like a hollow crust collapsing into a black hole at its center. When the pieces finally connect in your brain and you realize how everything fits together, it is an unparalleled, genuinely moving experience. It is a masterpiece about cosmic scale that you can only truly experience once. This is the game you boot up when you want to turn on some high-tempo synthwave music and let your pure mechanical muscle memory take over. Ghostrunner is a first-person, high-speed action platformer set inside a bleak cyberpunk megastructure where you die in exactly one hit and every enemy dies in exactly one hit. It plays out like a hyper-fast, violent puzzle game. You are wall-running, sliding under gunfire, using a sensory boost to slow down time mid-air to dodge sniper rounds, and slicing through targets in a seamless flow state. When you fail, you instantly respawn at the start of the room with 0 loading time, removing any friction from the loop. A room that kills you 20 times will eventually turn into a 15-second clip of pure, flawless cinematic execution once you master the layout. On paper, Stray sounds like a gimmick. You play as a stray ginger cat navigating a forgotten, walled cyberpunk city populated exclusively by decaying companion robots. But Blue 12 Studio turned that premise into an incredibly earnest, atmosphere-heavy adventure. The game works because the developers committed completely to the physical reality of being a cat. The platforming is fluid and contextual, letting you leap seamlessly onto pipes and neon signs, alongside dedicated mechanics to just scratch carpets or tap a button to knock glass bottles off a ledge. You're accompanied by a tiny drone named B12, who helps you translate the language of the robot citizens who have built a tragic, beautiful culture. The neon lighting filtering through the damp subterranean alleys creates a mood that is incredibly cozy, yet deeply melancholic. Sifu is an uncompromising third-person martial arts game that captures the raw intensity of classic kung fu cinema better than anything else on the market. The narrative is a traditional revenge tale, but the mechanical twist here is the aging artifact. Every time you fall in battle, you don't hit a game over screen. You instantly stand back up, but you age. As you age, your maximum health bar shrinks because your body is frail, but your strike damage increases because you've spent a lifetime mastering the art. The combat is built entirely on a structural balance gauge where you have to actively read animations, parry precise strings, and use avoids to duck under strikes. Ultimately, Sifu challenges you to master your own impulses, and as the muscle memory develops, you begin clearing whole rooms without taking a scratch. It's a grueling dance that forces you to actually earn your revenge.
Do you have what it takes to know Kung Fu?
Katana ZERO is a neon-drenched, synthwave psychological thriller masquerading as a 2D side-scrolling hack-and-slash. You play as a bathrobe-wearing assassin who visits a highly disturbing psychiatrist between hits to get injected with an experimental drug called Chronos. This drug gives you the ability to manipulate time, which manifests mechanically as a strict one-hit, one-kill rule, where taking a single bullet drops you instantly. To clear a room, you have to slow down time, predict enemy patrol paths, and swing your katana at the exact millisecond required to deflect a bullet right back into a guard's face. Every time you fail, the screen rewinds because you were just planning the run in your head, and when you finally clear it, the game plays back a real-time security tape of your flawless execution. As the drug withdrawal kicks in, your reality begins to fracture, turning a simple action game into a deeply unsettling narrative puzzle box. If you want a linear, cinematic experience that prioritizes heavy narrative atmosphere over open-world bloat, A Plague Tale: Innocence is essential. Set in 14th century war-torn France during the height of the Black Plague, you play as 14-year-old Amisha, forced to flee her home with her sheltered, sickly younger brother Hugo. You are being hunted by the Inquisition, but the real threat is the environment itself, which is completely overwhelmed by fluid swarms of thousands of flesh-eating rats. The rats are completely terrified of light, meaning survival relies entirely on manipulating light sources. You are armed with a basic leather slingshot, using alchemical ammo to ignite distant braziers, strike down torches from guards' hands to let the rat swarms consume them, or solve complex geometric puzzles to clear a path. The emotional core of the game is the protective bond between the two siblings, leading to a beautifully acted, unforgettable story.
Now! Run!
We're closing out the list with CLAIR OBSCUR Expedition 33. This is a first game from a 30-person French studio, and nothing about it plays like one. The premise? Every year, a being called the Paintress paints a number on a monolith, and everyone at or above that age dies. It started at 100. This year, it's 33. You play as Gustav, a man with 1 year left on a mission every previous expedition already failed. The combat is turn-based, but you're never passive. On the enemy's turn, you're dodging and parrying in real time, and nailing a perfect parry string feels like winning a fight you had no business winning. The world is built around Belle Epoque France and looks like someone painted it without following the rules of physics. The story has a mid-game moment that completely changes how you see everything before it. Go in blind if you can. I'm not going to pretend this one was quick. This took a significant amount of time. Between the research, the scripting, second-guessing half the list, swapping titles out and putting them right back on, it's a massive process. Honestly, it's the kind of video where the moment you hit render, you instantly think of 3 other games that deserved a slot. So if your personal favorite didn't make the cut, I completely get it. But everything we covered today is something I genuinely stand behind. There's zero padding here, and no obvious safe picks thrown in just to round out a number. If you actually stuck around until the very end, that means a lot. If you manage to get a recommendation out of this, dropping a like goes a long way and genuinely helps the algorithm push this to people who actually want to see it. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button. We have more breakdowns like this in the pipeline, and I want to ensure you don't miss them. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.